Hey, no, no.
What's up, y'all, and welcome back to another episode of the 5 Dish Changer podcast. I am your host, Ashley Autumn. We are streaming a little bit later than we normally do tonight, but it's all good because everything happens the way that it's supposed to happen for a reason. I have two very special guests here with me today. I have Miss Kim Ortiz, co-founder of L.O.V.E Academy, and Janiro Hawkins II. And I want to apologize for having your name misspelled on
It's all good.
everything else, but I do feel like you were supposed to catch that too when I sent it out. But
Yeah, I totally missed it.
um, but we are gonna have a good time. We're gonna have great conversation and all of that. And so before we get started, I'm going to tell how I met both of y'all because I kind of met both of y'all in similar situations. So Kim and I'm not really sure how we connected on social media and ended up following each other, but we had a couple of meetings and just kind of got to know each other. And you do not know this, Kim, but for you in the audience, one day I just happened to be I was on my way back home, honestly. I was in Nashville. I was over it. My car was packed and I was getting ready to drive to Chattanooga and then try to figure it out from there. And I was laying on the couch and Kim posted on Facebook, "Who looking for a job at Universal?" And so I sent her a DM and I was like, "What you talking about, Willis?" And so she was like, "Send me your resume." I sent her my resume. The recruiter called me that day and was like, "Can you interview on Monday?" So that mean I had to stay in Nashville. And then I went to the interview on Monday. I left and then they called me probably 30 minutes later and offered me the job.
I did not know that. That's so dope.
So that was nothing but
Yeah,
the Lord.
that's dope.
So my bags was packed. Our other guest, Janiro, I met him at work. And honestly, I didn't know Janiro even did anything with music or the Southern Entertainment Awards. And that was kind of a part of that transition from I feel like life is just life and I'm finna get up out of here. So like these things kind of happen back to back. And one day we just happened to be talking and he's like, "Yeah, I like co-founded the Southern Entertainment Awards." And I was like, "Oh, interesting." But we worked together prior to. He was a trainer and I hated that job. And he probably thought I was crazy because I walked around like I hated that job. I was so miserable. So I want to thank both of y'all for being here. Y'all definitely have an imprint on a certain season in my life. And the trajectory from there. But next, I'm going to ask you guys to just tell the people a little bit more about you and what you do. And I'm going to start with you first, Kim.
Amazing. Well, first of all, thank you for sharing that. I did not know that. So look at God, just be out here guided. That was a crazy time being at UMPG. But it was a great time, learned a lot. So grateful for that experience. So yes, as Ashley mentioned, my name is Kim Ortiz. I'm a Jane of all trades, if you will. I do a lot of things. Primarily what my day-to-day is now is I'm a licensing manager for a music admin company. So I handle all the sync licensing. So I love that you're a music supervisor because I work with music supervisors daily, clearing samples, all the things. So definitely happy to get into these conversations later on about where music is going, especially like from the creative aspects. But I started a company in 2014 called Prospective Media Management. And that was because I couldn't get a job. I graduated from MTSU in 2013. I quit working at McDonald's. I started working at Amazon. I feel like everybody did that at the time. That was like the quick hustle. If you need a quick check, you went to the warehouse and you worked at Amazon while you try to figure things out. And I was just like, I got this degree. I got all this passion, this ambition, but I have no job. So that sort of transition or transpired into me creating my own job. So I just dove headfirst into PR, taught myself how to write press releases. I started managing artists. I started throwing showcases in Murfreesboro because at the time, nobody was throwing showcases for hip hop artists. So what I would do is I would go to the venues and be like, how much does it cost to rent this out? Because when I would try to talk to the booking agent, they were like, oh, you do hip hop? We don't do that kind of music here. But I'm like, all right, but how much is it to rent it out? And then I can bring who I want. So that's really how the Prospective brand started. And I would just use all the money I was making, working all the jobs that I was working, and I would rent out these venues. And I would have my hip hop showcases, really spotlighting hip hop and R&B artists, primarily in Murfreesboro and Middle Tennessee. And then from there, I bounced around from city to city, state to state, went to LA, moved out the country for a little bit while I was working on my master's, came back. And I got hired at Universal Music Publishing. That was my first official gig in the industry. That was in 2019. Moved to LA a few months later and been back in Nashville since 2020. And now I'm in publishing, been in publishing for like 6 years. And then last year, my sister and I founded an organization called the L.O.V.E Academy. So we're fiscally sponsored by the Arts and Business Council, but we do year-round youth programming, really teaching life skills, creative exposure, certified skilled trades, all the things. So that's what I do, a little of what I do.
Come on now. And I'm sure Nashville is so happy to have you back from LA. Because I was a little sad when you left. UMPG wasn't quite the same, but I understand why you left.
You know, the way I never wanted to come back to Nashville, and God kept being like, nah, but you coming back. And I just had to like wrestle with that of like, all right, I guess I live here now. But Nashville is not a bad place. And I think it's a place of community. And I love all the programming that's coming to Nashville. So I'm actually excited about that. It's great to have an organization here because now all my kiddos, I feel like I would abandon them and have abandonment issues. They're like, you can't ever leave. Like you're stuck with us now. All of the youth that I work with. So it's a great reason to be here is to work with them. It makes it all worth it.
So I am, again, excited to have you here. Grateful for you taking the time out to be here. Excited to hear some of these picks you have.
Girl, the stress. You don't even know the stress. The stress of narrowing this down to 5. I was sweating.
I couldn't figure it out. I'm sorry.
Okay. I'm so interested to hear your picks, Janiro, because what?
And so I didn't realize it was going to
challenge me to make me think. So when you're talking to music lovers, and I rarely ever pick a top 5, pick a top 10 or anything like that. So I did it for you, Ashley, and I tried to make sure that there was some relevance in what I selected.
Well,
all my stuff is old. It's probably like pre-2010. I was just like, that's when music was good. I don't know. It was tough.
I got some new stuff.
Okay, honestly, good. Then that means Janiro, you might be the only person who has had new stuff. I don't think anybody has said anything. Well, no, I take that back. Mac had a couple of like 2010s stuff, but it definitely wasn't nothing after 2015, I don't think.
I don't think I have anything past. Well, we'll talk about it. Let's just say that.
So go ahead, tell the people what you do and all of that.
I mean, I cannot top Kim. Like Kim, you just
please stop. Yes, you can.
Like your accolades precede you, and I really appreciate what you do in the entertainment industry. So what I will say is my name is Janiro Hawkins. I'm one of the founders of the Southern Entertainment Awards. I would say to date, we are the longest running independent award ceremony in the entire country. I am also a music supervisor for Onyx Theory Arts. So shout out Nina Stacks. One of our most recent films, Fatal Lust, has exceeded 20 million views. So that's huge. I don't care what platform it's on or anything like that. Views are views. So that's me in a nutshell. And I DJ. I just finished DJing before I got onto this. So that's why this was pushed back an hour. So I really appreciate everyone's flexibility. But I wanted to make sure I met my obligations and did exactly what I said I was going to do. I thought it was a little weird that this was on 9/11, but I'm like, all right, we're going to make it work.
Yeah, I didn't really think through that when I planned everything out. And when I feel
Hey,
like
life happens.
Yeah, like I just was like, okay, I started doing like all of the pre-production in the spring. And so then it was like, okay, when am I going to start this? And then it's like, okay, well, if you drag your feet, you're never going to start it. So I just said, okay, we'll do Thursdays.
No time like the
then,
present.
Yeah, Thursdays, and mapped it out. And then by the time I mapped it all out and started booking all the guests and stuff, I was like, wait a minute, 9/11. Oh, well, we in it now. So
Yeah.
Exactly.
Plenty to talk about.
Yes, Lord.
Exactly. So again, thank y'all for taking time out to be here, but we gonna get into these picks, which y'all came here to do. And
I'm sweating just thinking about it, and I don't even sweat.
I
was listening. I had to really think through mine, and I was like,
so hard.
What is Ashley looking for? And I'm trying to align with what. Yeah. So we're gonna make it do what it do.
To be honest, I wasn't really looking for anything in particular. Like, I'm like you, Janiro. I do not necessarily pick my own top 5 of anything, but I thought it would be cool to just kind of do like a nostalgia feel where it's like, back in the day, that 5-disc changer, you really had to know what you wanted in there, like especially like in cars and
stuff.
Once
you left the house,
like
listen, a little visor with the CDs in there.
Girl, I had
Today's
the visor.
kids will never know.
I kept the booklet in the car.
Booklet.
I had the booklet, a 200, the 83 booklet, the thing over like it rained CDs on your head if they get stretched out. So I was like, I think it would be cool just to kind of take it back to that part of life where it's like you really had to think about what you were gonna ride around with, at least for the day, if not for the week, when you loaded that changer up. So that was it. It was no trick.
No, I love it.
But let's start with track number 1. I'm gonna start with you, Kim, just because the way everything's set up.
Get the anxiety over with. It's okay. We'll get it over.
So wait a minute, before you go into your first pick, there is a question to go along.
Wait, track number 1. Is it track number 1 or disc number 1?
It'd be disc number 1 because it's
okay.
So
yeah, I got an album for my number 1 pick. So
okay, yeah, I did albums.
Yeah, album, single, whatever y'all want to put in there. But the question that goes along with this, and it'll be for both of y'all: why did you choose this track, and what does it represent in your journey?
Okay. All right. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. This is really in no particular order, but this is just the first thing that's written out on my list. I'm going back to what I love, hip hop. I got Lupe Fiasco, The Cool. Is my favorite Lupe Fiasco album, which was hard because Food and Liquor was so good.
The Cool was dope.
But The Cool, though, and the reason I picked The Cool, I remember this probably came out when I was like maybe 9th grade, probably 9th, 10th grade. I was still living in North Carolina, right? So I'm a military kid. So I've moved around a lot. But this is specific because when this song came out, the boyfriend I had at the time, the one thing I would give him is that he had a great ear for music. And he introduced me to Lupe Fiasco and like Killer Mike and Bun B and UGK. Like my mama was like, we listening to gospel and that's it. So
you're so old.
Because of him, I know who Lupe is. I know who Killer Mike is. All like the Southern rappers. So I really appreciate him for that. So this was right before my dad broke the news to me that he got transferred to Kentucky and we had to move to Kentucky. Devastation. Okay. I'm in like 9th, 10th grade at this time. But it was The Cool got me through a lot, like especially when I think about my favorite tracks on there, Intruder Alert, Hip Hop Saved My Life. The track title, The Cool, it was just such a good album. And for me, the mark of a good album is when I don't skip. So I let The Cool ride from top to bottom. And it's still one of my favorite albums. And I think it's when I really kind of like started paying attention to music and to other forms outside of gospel music, because that's the household I grew up in, was like gospel, jazz, funk. we really weren't allowed to listen to like rap or hip hop, etc. So that was really my intro to like Common and Lupe and like J. Cole, what I would classify as what people classify as conscious rappers. That was kind of my intro to it.
Okay.
Dope.
Yeah.
So I'm a food and liquor girl. I like the cool, but I'm a food. Like I feel about food and liquor how you feel about the cool. Like no skips. I just listened to food and liquor the other day. Like I haven't listened to Lupe in a while.
Oh, his new album is dope.
I haven't listened to the new album because Lasers is where he lost me. So I might have to come back.
Yeah.
I agree, Kim. Like
I know it's a hot take, but I was like, what are we doing, Lupe?
I heard somebody explain it. I can't, it might have been Punch from Top Dog, but I'm not really sure. And he was talking about, he made it like a basketball analogy. And he was like, some rappers just don't have a mid-range. And so Lupe, I feel like he had a mid-range with food and liquor and the cool. But then, like you said, with Lasers, I think he was just like, I'm smart and I want to show y'all that I'm smart. And it's like, I get it, but it's a little bit too deep for me to try to like drive and break all of this down. Like, and it's not, oh, I'm not intelligent enough to break it down. It's like, I'm driving to work. Like, give me that.
You didn't come there for all that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, like I ain't necessarily gotta have it like dumbed all the way down, but give me a little mid-range.
A little kick push.
Yeah, like
yeah.
A little something where I can digest it on the way to work or while I'm working. But if I gotta type and then stop and then be like, let me Google that word and put it all together, it's a little too much. So like I agree with you about Lasers for sure. But Janiro, we're gonna get into your pick. Same thing. Why did you choose this track and what does it represent in your journey?
I'm going to start with, so I'm gonna date myself on these because there's an age gap apparently. So I'm gonna do Wu-Tang, Enter the Wu-Tang. And the reason why I selected that, at that time, I had just moved to Tennessee and I got a job at a record store. That was my first job at a record store. I was working at, believe it or not, Turtles Music in Donaldson. Turtles turned to Blockbuster. We know what happened. We know what happened. So people used to be able to rent videos and stuff at Blockbuster, but before there was a Blockbuster, there was Turtles. And what is significant about that was Wu-Tang. So again, I'm in the South. I'm coming from Michigan. I'm in the South. And Wu-Tang was placed in the pop rock section. They didn't know where to put it because of the cover art and everything like that. They never heard anything like that. So here I am, the black guy working at the record store. And I'm having, of course, they assign me to the rap. But when you think of Wu-Tang and what they did and where I was in my life, I'm coming from Michigan. I know Esham. I know Jake the Flake. I know Top Authority. I know Dayton Family. So when I'm coming to the South and I get introduced to Wu-Tang like it's in my face, and I'm stuck in the rap section, and it's my first job at a record store, like it was just so much. And that CD and the music on there just resonated with me, and it was just a new coming of the next plateau of hip hop.
Okay. Now let me ask you this, because it's interesting that someone from up north, Midwest area moves to the South and it's like Wu-Tang. Most people, they move down south and it's like, UGK or, Outkast, 3-6 Mafia. But for you, it was New York music.
Well, see, at that time, so we talking 1990. Mm-hmm. So at that time, 3-6 was still a little young. Okay. And because I was at the store, like I didn't get introduced to 3-6 until I went to Tennessee State.
Okay.
And everybody from Memphis was like, yo,
Yep.
you know, and I had dated a girl that lived out in Jackson. So I really got turned on to, well, she was in Covington, Tennessee, to be exact. So, you know, it was like, that's when I got introduced to all of that, you know, gangster, all that gangster rap and everything from the South. Flint gangster rap, period. But Wu-Tang was different, and around that time, it just really opened up my ear to other things. I've always been into music because like you, Kim, I grew up where my mom was like, on Sundays, you listen to the gospel. There is no rap played.
That's right.
You know, but I got by because there was jazz. So jazz influenced my ear to other things. And when you look at New York and the hip hop that was coming out of New York, it was all jazz influence and inspired. So that's what kind of drove that ear over to the East Coast.
Okay, that makes sense. Like I said, it's just rare to hear somebody say, yeah, I moved down south and got put on some Wu-Tang. It's like,
I mean, if I wasn't in the record store, that probably wouldn't have happened like that, because around that time here in Nashville, it was Cool Daddy Fresh and Pistol.
I gotta look these names up because I don't know who you talking.
So Cool Daddy Fresh and Pistol, they were the top artists in the city. They were, Cool Daddy Fresh had a song, It's All True. Pistol got signed to Eazy's label. So that was before Bone Thugs and everything like that. Like, Nashville had a buzzing sound around that time. So we talking 90s.
I'm getting kind of deeper into this pick, but I just got questions. But that's what it's about. Like, you putting us on some game right now. So you talk about Nashville's sound at that time. What was unique about the Nashville sound about that time? Or was it, you know, kind of a hybrid blend of just Southern?
I mean, I'm coming from the North. And one thing that we are always told in the North is that everybody in the South is slower. What I noticed was the influence of the North and the East Coast here in the South. So like Boogie. So Wu-Tang had an influence here. So Lot Dark Man, Lot Dark Man here in Nashville had Wu-Tang connections. He was a Southern Wu member, basically. So that's where all of that comes from. You know, the beats, the production, it was grimy, it was gritty. When you think about New York, what was that production like in the 90s? It was grimy, it was gritty. It was street talk. So Nashville had street talk. It was just Southern. New York had street talk. It was just East Coast.
Interesting. I feel like the Pistol guy, I've heard his name before. I couldn't tell you nothing about him. Don't put me on Jeopardy. Like,
wait, what's his name? Pistol and who? Cool Daddy Fresh?
Pistol, Cool Daddy Fresh. Around that time, it was Serving the World Click. You know, Quanti Cash came after that. All Star came after that.
Yeah.
Playboy came after that.
When did Young Buck arrive?
Playboy, Young Buck came. So around that Juvenile UTP, you remember UTP era? So after Slow Motion and Back That Ass Up and all that, around that time when UTP was created, that's when, who was that? Skip and Wacko were in there in that group. So that's around the time Young Buck was around, you know, and that's back when the clubs were really popping here in the city. Mix Factory, Palladium, Outer Limit, you know, Chrome, all of that.
You a whole walking historian for Nashville hip hop. And I love that, because you would think that Nashville doesn't have a hip hop scene for people outside the city. And that's by design, because they've designed it to be country.
Oh, no. Like the hip hop, you know, even when you think of Mike E and Count Bass D. So Count Bass D was picked up by Third Base. So there was a DJ here in the city by the name of DJ White Knight. White Knight introduced Count Bass D to Pete Nice from Third Base, because White Knight was the DJ for Third Base back in the day. And Count Bass actually went to MTSU. So a lot of talent came out of MTSU and everything. But yeah, Big Doggy Records, which was Reggie White's label, actually signed Mike E back in the day. And that's around the DC Talk and the Grits era, the Christian rap. So Nashville has always had a major artist signed.
No, that's dope. And I agree with Kim, like the fact that you have the knowledge and the history and to say that, because a lot of people don't know that. And a lot of people move to Nashville and don't attempt to try to even know that. So like I've heard of Kwani Cash and some of the other people, not the people from the 90s, the early 90s. So it's more like
y'all were young.
a little bit,
yeah.
But it's okay.
And like y'all said, I grew up in we listen to gospel music and this little slither of R&B. And me getting more of the secular music was from older cousins, where it's like, if my mama knew I was listening to this, she would be upset. But we get to watch the MTV raps and the BET
106 in Park,
all of that. So we're gonna go into our second pick. I'm gonna start with you, Janiro, this time. What is your second pick? What was happening in your life when this song or album dropped, and what made it stick with you?
So my second pick is actually a sophomore album, which a lot of artists don't do good on sophomore albums. There's a struggle, a challenge, an expectation, and that is Del the Funky Homo Sapien, No Need for Alarm. It was jazzy. It was boom bap. Boom bap had a little bit less funk than his prior album. So little history about Del the Funky Homo Sapien. That is Ice Cube's cousin.
Look, let me take notes. Hold on.
Yeah, I'm over here typing and pulling it up.
This is a whole history lesson. The Funky Homo Sapien.
Del the Funky Homo Sapien is Ice Cube's cousin. And his second album, it was very in your face. So if you've ever heard of hieroglyphics, I'm sure y'all have. Y'all heard a song called 93 Till Infinity and Far Side and all that. So that is a hiero collective. So Del led the way for the hieroglyphics. But that No Need for Alarm album just came off hard. And it starts with the first song and goes all the way through. But yeah, my ear for hip hop was really expanding around that time. And that was probably around the time that I had moved to Atlanta. So I moved from Nashville to Atlanta. So another music mecca, and my ear opened up. Even my exposure to music in Atlanta was, I can't even describe it, because I moved to Atlanta the year that Freaknik was at its peak and the cops boycotted.
93? Was that 93?
Yeah.
I wanted to be a Freaknik so bad. All my older cousins were going, and I was 2 years old, and I was like, I want to go to Freaknik. I'm so jealous. Good for you.
The last year of Freaknik, I was like in high school, so like barely. It was like they shut it down right when you.
Yeah, I was
20. I was 20 years old, moving to Atlanta, Georgia. Pursuing a music career.
So lucky.
And it was like, just what a time is.
You went on them tapes, were you? They came out with a Freaknik documentary.
No,
you were saying
I wasn't on them. I
watched the documentary. I seen a little.
I might need to run it back. Let me see.
So now let me ask you this. You've lived in Atlanta, you lived in Nashville. Which city do you feel like was easier for you to navigate as far as music goes?
Um, I had no issues in either, to be honest. But if I had to pick one and say, oh, which one is easier? Maybe Atlanta at the time because of the diversity. It was people from everywhere. In Atlanta, everybody was moving to Atlanta to pursue music. Nashville was and still is a little bit kind of wide open.
Yeah.
But Atlanta, like, there's just certain things that you got to do in Atlanta that you can't do in Nashville. And you know, that's just what it is. But when I go to Atlanta and I'm there almost every month, at least once, it's a little bit easier for me. I learned so much in Atlanta also. You know, it wasn't like people were trying to hold information back from me or anything like that. But what I know now today, I learned in Atlanta through my experiences. So yeah, you know, it's like I felt that it was easy. Now, it could have been the people I was around, the connections I had, but when I moved to Atlanta, I didn't know nobody. You know, I networked my ass off and got into a couple cool circles and was able to make some things shake.
Okay. That makes sense. I feel like you said, Nashville is still very much wide open. To me, in my mind, in 2025, that would make Nashville easier because it's like you can get out there, hustle, start something, you know, do some good PR, some marketing and all of that. And kind of like Kim talked about, have those shows. Like I did the same thing. Like, oh, if I can't find a job, then the job gonna come to me. I feel like in Atlanta, it's very oversaturated at this point. And so it's like you go and you're just one of many, like, okay, you can rap. So can all of the homeless people. I don't know if y'all watched the Instagram where the dude had the homeless people come like freestyle or whatever. And like half of them be like hella dope. So it's like even all the homeless people in Atlanta got talent, and then you move there and you become like a small fish in a big pond. So.
Yeah, you're right.
So Kim, we're gonna switch over to your next pick.
Let me pull my list back up. All right.
And it'll be the same question. What was happening in your life when this song or album dropped and what made it?
Yeah, I'm curious now, Kim.
This is a throwback. I'm such an old soul, God. This is a song, not an album. The song is Someday We'll All Be Free by Donny Hathaway. And I love me some Donny Hathaway. I think that's the musician in me. So I grew up classically trained as a clarinet player. Also took other like piano and guitar, but I didn't stick with that. So don't ask me to play piano or guitar. But Donny Hathaway is probably one of my favorite songwriters ever. And the first time I heard this song, I think it just encapsulated like what the Black experience is, at least from my perspective in this country. And because I love history so much and try to be a student of Black history and American history and global history, I think just the way he was able to capture his experience in that song really sort of opened up my eyes to like go back and study the greats. So like my family is from Memphis. My dad is from Mason, which is right outside of Covington. My mama grew up, born and raised in Memphis. So Memphis runs through my blood. And that's why I said, if you know anything about Memphis, there's like 3 or 4 or 5 churches on every corner. So that's why gospel music was so crucial and critical in our household, because my mom, her dad, and her mother were both in gospel quartet groups. And so for me, when I listen to Donny Hathaway, especially the song, it kind of puts me back in that mode of like being in church or listening to, you know, Granny sing that one song that kind of makes her feel liberated. So this is a song that I go back to all the time.
Okay. And So now I know last pick you mentioned you were military brat, and
Mm-hmm.
you have a very eclectic music palette. Do you
Yes.
feel like the military play, even though you grew up in a house that was like we listening to gospel, do you
Mm-hmm.
feel like the military kind of help you have this eclectic taste where it's like, yeah, I'm kind of getting some Donnie at home, but like you said, dated the guy who put you onto like Lupe and some conscious rap. Would you say that's an accurate statement for you?
Military is in like moving around a lot.
Yeah.
Um, No, I'm not gonna give it that much credit because that was actually like a sucky time to be a kid, constantly moving. If you're a military brat, we got survival stories. It wasn't all bad, right? Like what it did for me is it put me in a space with people from all different cultures and walks of life, and really gave me an appreciation, like you said, for all types of music. But I really credit my dad. So my dad grew up playing the saxophone, and I wanted to play saxophone just like him. But I ended up on clarinet. My sister played the violin. So my grandfather played the organ. So I just grew up in a very musical family. And my dad, he wasn't the gospel, right? My mama was the Shirley Caesar, the Albertina Walker, the Caravans. My daddy was like Parliament, Funkadelic, Fats Domino, Sarah Vaughan, Kenny G. Like he was so eclectic in his palette. And then at the time, the kids I was going to school with was like, they were Eminem and Blink 182 and all the rock music. So I guess to your point, moving around a lot and being exposed to so many different types of people, I think definitely influenced my musical palette. But also, I think just growing up in like a musical family had a lot to do with that too. Because my dad, he crazy. He still got 8 tracks. Like his vinyl collection is ridiculous. His 8-track collection is ridiculous. Today's kids probably don't even know what an 8-track is. But he's
Not at
just a
all.
music connoisseur. Like, and I told him, I was like, I'm not trying to put you in the grave early, but like, can you will me your like vinyls, like 8 tracks? Like, can you just throw that in the wheel real quick? Um, but yeah, I really credit my dad a lot for how much I love music because he's a music aficionado for sure.
And so now, the first time you heard Donny Hathaway,
Mm-hmm.
did you hear it on a vinyl, a 8-track, CD, or
Radio. The
okay?
first song I heard from Donny Hathaway was probably A Song for You, and I heard it on the radio. And I was like, who is this? And so I went and so back in the day, right? I'm a 90s baby through and through. We used to get allowances on a good week. And what I would do with my allowances, I would go to FYE in the mall back in the day where you still had the record stores in the mall. And I would spend all my little allowance money buying CDs. And like even in my car, I still got that Donny Hathaway greatest hits album with this song on it. I have Fats Domino albums, like all like CDs, all types of crazy stuff. But yeah, I mean, he played a lot of vinyl in the house too, for sure.
Okay.
Sorry, y'all.
Now you good. I had a follow-up question and then it kind of slipped my mind. But I'm an 80s baby, but I used to forego my lunch money. So when my mom would give me lunch money for 2 weeks, I would like go buy a CD and eat Starburst for lunch because you could get them out the vending machine for like 50 cents, which is crazy because now they like $4 for a
They
pack of
taxing.
Starburst.
That's
They
very
big
rude.
packs, and I would have starved because I'm not paying no $4 for no Starburst.
Facts.
But so we're gonna get into the next pick. We're gonna go back over to Janiro, pick number 3. And that the follow-up question for that is, why does this track or album still hit today, and what keeps it timeless for you?
So mine will be A Tribe Called Quest, Midnight Marauders. The reason why is because it is one of the most complete rap albums ever made. Q-Tip was at his peak. Fife was, rest in peace, Fife, but he was there. And as you see on the first album, Fife wasn't doing a lot of rapping. He came in a little bit on the low end theory, but that third album, like he was there. But again, that's one of the most complete albums I have ever heard. And I listened to a shit ton of music. But that album right there, every track, it's a no skip album.
I love me some Tribe.
So I got hip to Tribe late. So like I said, grew up in a house where it was a lot of gospel. Anything that I got was from my cousins, and my cousins either they kind of listen to the mainstream stuff. So like I'm probably still one of like the only just true blue music lovers in my family, where it's just kind of like Janiro said, consuming so much music, and it makes me sad to know that I will never be able to hear every good song in the world before I die. And so I got hip to Tribe late, and it was kind of like I had to go and listen to it myself and kind of get like the historical context of who they were. Like, always kind of knew because of course they had songs on the radio, and then like stuff like that. So it was like knew of them, but not necessarily their catalog. So they don't necessarily kind of stick with me the same as some people who kind of like either heard it first go around. I also notice y'all are both jazz people, and I wonder if that also plays a part of it. My parents,
the jazz influence in Q-Tip's production. Yeah, I mean, I like a lot of melancholy music. So if you know, like if you look at my pitch, you're gonna, aside from maybe Wu-Tang, you know, but it's gonna be a lot of jazz samples in there in what I listen to, whether it's Pete Rock, whether it's Dell, whether it's anything off of High Road, whether it's Tribe, De La, you know, it's gonna, and two other albums that, you know, we'll discuss that I selected, they're all around that same tone, tempo, that pace, you know, and it's, for me, albums grew on me as I got older and experienced life as well. You know, yes, I DJ and I play whatever for the moment, but there's certain things that resonate with me more than others. And some of it is just based on a point in time in my life. But Tribe is just, you know, I grew up, I was delivering papers on a paper route listening to Jungle Brothers. So to go from Jungle Brothers to De La to Tribe, that was a natural progression for me. You know, to listen to Slum Village, that was a natural progression for me. To listen to Hieroglyphic, Farside, and Souls of Mischief, that was natural because all of those groups, regardless of the coast, they're interconnected.
Yeah. I definitely, so like the history of it all, the interconnectedness, I understand it from a music history standpoint. My parents are like young parents in the grand scheme of things. Like my dad just turned 60 and I'm getting ready to turn 40. So like I kind of grew up on more of like Run DMC, LL. My mom was big into like Gap Band, Stacy Lattisaw. So she's a big R&B girly. My dad's not a big music guy. Like he kind of weird where he can ride around in the car with no music on, period. And it's like,
it'd be like that sometimes. Listen, the older you get, the more I look forward to the silent moments in the car. I'm not gonna lie, I feel your daddy a little bit.
Sometimes I can listen into some silence, but he can literally just be like every day silent. And like he has an older car, so we just got him a little plug-in thing so he can play the stuff he like on Spotify, but he would just ride around listening to the radio station. And I know he don't know none of them songs, like he'll hum along with it, but girl, he not listening to Drake or Mary J. Blige or whatever coming on the.
I don't think there's ever been a day in my life to where I have not listened to music in some capacity.
Yeah,
I love
I
that.
would agree. I would agree.
I can't say the same.
I listen to music pretty much every day in some
Well, no, that's a
capacity.
lot. I do,
I
but not
listen to
all day.
music to go to bed.
Yes, I do that.
Now I'm not gonna do that because then you get earworm, and then that one song will be stuck in my head and playing in my dreams, and then I'm gonna
But
get.
it's soft jazz. You know, I listen to
That
jazz or
meditation
lo-fi.
music does it for
Yeah.
me. Like you put on that
I listen to
little,
music when I'm working, to be
yeah,
honest.
or when I'm studying,
Yeah.
like yeah.
Yeah. Now working, studying, sleep. No, I'm a scroll on something. I'm a doom scroll on something until my eyes drop 3 times. The first time I'm gonna fight it. The second time it's like, okay, usually it's like I need to get done with this. The third time it's like, all right, put the phone up, silence, I'm done.
Listen,
So
I
yeah.
watch Friends and play Candy Crush until I pass out. That's the routine. Friends, Candy Crush.
Now I gotta hear what that third selection is, Kim. I'm curious.
And
Gonna
that's
be
a
all
good
over the place.
segue. So Kim, let's talk
Yeah,
about your third selection.
I'm about to switch it up actually because I had a bunch of honorable mentions on here because I was stressed out. So we just gonna switch it up and pick for one of them. Um, I'm gonna go with Willow and Pathogen. That's actually a newer
Yeah.
record. I am probably one of the biggest Willow fans that you will ever meet. People do not talk enough about Willow for me. That girl has
Like
so
Will Smith's
yes,
daughter?
Willow
Okay.
Smith. Yes, yes. Post, I whip my hair back and forth. Like the albums that she has put out as she has grown into an adult are just so ridiculously creative. And even if you listen to this latest album, I think this is probably one of the most creative albums I've heard in this decade. If you just listen to like the time signatures and the way she's moving in and out, like even Questlove, I think he produced part of the album, and he was just like, who thinks of stuff like that? Like you hear the jazz influence, you hear the rock influence. It's like if Paramore had a baby with like Alanis Morissette mixed with a little Tracy Chapman, it would be Willow. You know, like
Yeah.
that's the
That's the
musical
perfect
baby.
example.
Yeah, that I hear, and you could tell she just like listens to so much, like so many different genres of music. So I love Willow Down. I love Willow Down, and I think um that album really got me excited about music again in this recent period because I don't listen to the radio. I know that's a hot take. Because I work in the industry, I do not listen to the radio. Um, and I don't like I'm aware of new songs, right? Because I don't want to be ignorant in my industry. So like I listen to like what's being rolled out, but also I just like what I like. And I'm not listening to hot girl music all day, every day. And then I want to be clear, there's nothing wrong with hot girl music. I'm not shaming the hotties. I'm just saying for me personally, that's
You
not
just
something I
want
can
more
listen to.
substance.
Yeah, I just want a little more creativity, like not just vocally, but instrumentally. And the fact that she's weaving out in and out of these intricate time signatures, that's just the music nerd in me of like, how is she going from 6/8 to 3/4? Like all these things that you wouldn't think could be done, and really rocking out. So for me, I kind of nerd out on that album. And I think that's what really got me excited about the music that's coming out now that maybe kind of be floating underground. Cause I don't think people talk about Willow enough for me. I'm just like, why are we not talking about Willow? What are we
They
doing?
don't.
They don't talk. She's so underrated. And I hate even using that phrase, but I've seen her in concert. When I lived in LA, at the time I was partly managing Will Smith's godson, who was a DJ. And he opened up for Willow and Jada in down like DTLA, down at a venue. I think it was Novo in downtown LA. And just seeing how she is live, and I've seen her live like 3 times now. She's phenomenal.
Yeah. I don't necessarily get deep into her catalog, but that first album after she decided I'm going to do music again, I think it was like she might have still had the shaved head. And it was very acoustic vibes. And I was like, okay, I didn't expect this, but it was dope. And then when I started hearing her on like Transparency and all of that type of stuff, and I was like, no, she's actually the truth. I think she's probably more so underrated because she is Will Smith's daughter, Jada Smith's daughter. So it's like, oh, Nepo baby and sometimes people don't realize
Yeah.
Nepo babies still gotta work to be talented. Like, yeah,
And all Nepo babies are not talented. That girl is talented.
yeah, she's talented.
She's
And
talented.
so,
Symptom of Life and Big Feelings are like, just listen to those songs alone. If you don't know, if you never listened to a Willow song a day in your life, listen to Symptom of Life and Big Feelings. Yeah.
got you. So that's gonna segue us into pick number 4. I'm gonna stay with you, Kim. And the follow-up to this is, did anyone introduce this track to you, or did you find it on your own?
Oh, I found this on my own. This is gonna be a J. Cole album. Because I grew up in North Carolina, so J. Cole was very much so all we listened to. This is his 2014 Forest Hills Drive album. When that album first dropped, oh my god, it was on repeat constantly. I was out of college by then, and I remember listening to Love Yours over and over and over again, because that was a tough time. Like, my great grandmother, who I was extremely close to, had literally just passed away. And I had a feeling the day that she passed that she was going to pass that day. And I listened to this album like it was a whole crazy thing. Like, I called her and talked to her that morning because I had a feeling like she was going to be gone by that afternoon. So I'm grateful that I got to tell her I loved her. And not to make it sad, but this album really got me through that because it was out at the time that my dad called me. I was literally listening to Love Yours in the Dairy Queen drive-thru in Murfreesboro when my dad called and was like, I'm sorry to tell you, your grandma has passed. So when I listen to this album, it doesn't as much make me sad as it really, especially that song Love Yours, it really just makes me grateful for the things that I do have, because this was also a time where, like, I just graduated from college. As I mentioned, nobody was hiring me. So it was like I was trapped in that wheel of comparison. I'm looking around at all my peers. They got jobs at Universal. They got jobs at Warner. They're walking into Music Row and getting hired on the spot. I'm interviewing on Music Row. I walk in. I'm the only Black person in most of these companies in Music Row. And so I know I have this feeling immediately I'm not about to get hired. And so I think that album really just like got me through a lot of the doubt and the self-doubt that I was experiencing at that time of trying to figure out, where do I go from here? I got this degree. I got all this student debt. What am I about to do? Am I going to ever make it in my industry, or what? Where do I go from here? And so that's why that's going to always be a pivotal album for me, specifically that song Love Yours. That's like, love that song. Love the message of that song.
Would you say that you're a J. Cole fan, or that album was just like, you know what, this is a good album for me in this moment? Or do you?
I'm a fan.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not a big J. Cole fan. Like, I don't hate the guy. I think he's incredibly talented. And for me, music is a energy thing. So it's like, I can recognize this is a really good album, really dope, but it doesn't connect with me energetically. And the only J. Cole album that I really felt like I listened to and connected to energetically was KOD. I think that's his name of it, the Purple, or whatever. But yeah, no, I like Love Yours too. I like that song. I remember that song. But we're gonna move over to Janiro, your next pick. And who did someone introduce it to you, or did you find it on your own?
So my next pick would be Outkast, Southern Playalistic, Cadillac.
Yes. Classic.
And I was living in Atlanta. So again, I moved to Atlanta around that same time that album came out. And to be in Atlanta when Outkast dropped this album was everything I needed. Again, the strings, the jazz, the funk influence that has carried me through my life was all in this album. And at that time, I was working at a record store in Atlanta. I was working an overnight shift at this printing company. So I was like, well, I get off at 7 a.m. I don't got nothing else to do. So let me go pick up another job that, again, brought me back to music. And I met a guy at the record store, and he was like, yo, I'm working on some music and everything. We got a project coming out soon and some more other stuff. That guy that I met was Rico Wade.
I knew you were going to say that. I'm so jealous. What a name drop. What a name drop. First of all.
And, rest in peace again, Rico, but his contribution to music and everything that he did and instilled into Dre and Big Boy was like, I was working at Linux, and he just happened to walk in the store. And I was, as usual, stocking CDs. But the energy was just like, it flowed. So, Atlanta ushered me into Organized Noise and Organized Noise Productions and Sleepy Brown and, Goody Mob back when they were the Lumberjacks and all of that. So, that would be my album. And, that entire album tells a story from the intro. If you ever fly to Atlanta, that intro in their album, like when you fly into Atlanta, you can only think of that intro in that album. Welcome to Atlanta, home of the Red Dogs. And then you see BMF and all these shows, and they have the Red Dogs on there and stuff. It's a culturally sound album that is necessary for everyone to listen to when it comes to Southern music.
I agree. Being from Chattanooga, I feel like the little remnants of the energy that Outkast had when they dropped that album, it was like you could feel it in Chattanooga. Like we picked up on that. I think I like that you talked about like that intro and flying into Atlanta and how it painted a picture, because I feel like more artists need to do that. And one of my quotes is, nobody else is going to think your city cool if you don't. Like people went to Atlanta because they did have songs or, stuff that said, welcome to Atlanta, and they're painting these stories. And then you get deeper into it. And then Jermaine Dupri comes out, welcome to Atlanta with where the players play. It's like, why would I not want to go? They have a lot of fun in their city, regardless if they are or aren't. They're making it look like they have a good time. So I think more artists need to embrace where they're from, because you can win your city over that way. And then that gives you the push and the momentum you need to go other places. And sometimes you do have to go other places. But I am a strong believer, if you drop a city anthem that is a banger and undeniable, your city will get behind you. They will respect you, and it'll give you a very necessary push to be on a bigger platform. But that is my rant on that. We gonna go over. No, Kim, you did the first one on that one, right? So yeah, we going to pick number 5. We at pick number 5. So Janiro, we're gonna stay on you for pick number 5. And the follow-up to this one is, why did this song deserve a spot in your top 5 over everything else you could have chosen?
My album is Mac Miller, Swimming. It was released in 2018. And for where I was in my life at that time, everything Mac was saying, I was feeling. Again, the jazzy beats, the melancholy feel, the emotions in the album, and everything like that. I was back in Nashville at that time. I was working at Asurian, and one of the white guys there was like, yo, check out Mac Miller, blah blah blah, and I did. I checked out the Kids mixtape and a few other projects and stuff. But when that project came out, Swimming, it was, oh my God, it was so much raw emotions, because Mac has been on this, or was on this, wave, and you could feel it in his album. So as I got older, I grew even closer to Mac. But where he was in life, you heard and felt it in his albums. If he was happy with Ariana Grande, you heard it in the album. If they had a breakup and he didn't know how to handle fame and success and everything, you heard it in the album. At the time of this album releasing, I was going through many relationship issues and life issues and stuff, and challenges and hurdles. And that album spoke to me dearly. Like, what he was feeling, I was feeling. What he was talking about was in my mind. And, like, it just, Mac wasn't a complicated person, and he spoke his truths, and what he presented was what he was. And that's probably one of the reasons why I'm a huge Mac Miller fan. And I don't think a lot of people really give him the artistic credit that he deserves, because he was a genius when it came to music.
I need to get deeper into Mac's catalog. And the only reason why I haven't, I'm the total opposite of you. I do not like a whole lot of melancholy music. It's too sad up in here.
So you don't listen to Sade?
I do some, but you're not going to really catch me. Like, I listen to
Drake?
Sade. I'm not listening to the whole lot of Drake. Like, if I listen to Drake, it's going to be Nokia, like the club stuff that you can dance to. But I'm not finna sit and cry with you. No, if I'm sad, I want something that's gonna pick me up. Like, as far as hip hop goes, ego rap. So give me something that's gonna make me feel like I can conquer the world. Even if it's R&B. So like, I love how Beyonce and Rihanna blends like the hip hop and like the ego rap, even though they might.
Yeah, Mac, have you thinking about life and what to do?
I do that enough. If I'm cutting on some music, I'm probably trying to shut off life. And so I also probably had a little bit of racial bias going into it. When I saw Mac Miller, I was just kind of like, y'all not finna colonize hip hop. So a part of that was the resistance, but I knew he was more melancholy because all of the people that I knew that listened to him kind of talked about.
So you listen to SZA?
Honestly, I don't listen to SZA anymore. So I listen to.
Oh, wow.
You can like you
because Mac had a huge influence on her career,
and that makes sense. So I'll say,
like Mac was one of the homies.
And I'm not saying he wasn't, like, and people say that, but it was just where I was at the time. I was probably going like deep woke, so it was like. Absolutely not. I was going through my own stuff. Well, I was going through my own stuff, but it was never really Mac Miller. But I was gonna say, like, when it comes to SZA and stuff like that, I can tell where I am in my own personal journey by the soundtrack of the era that I was listening to. So when I felt like I was deep into my own toxic lifestyle and relationships, my 5 discs would have probably been SZA, Kehlani, Janae Aiko. At that time, it would have been Beyonce, Lemonade, and the 5th one, who even knows? It was probably just those 4 was enough. I don't listen to hardly any of that now because I've done so much healing that it's like, girl, are we just gonna sit and cry for 20 songs on the album?
So I challenge you to listen to, and to everyone watching, if you have not listened to any Mac Miller music, I challenge you to listen to Swimming. It was the last album he really created prior to his murder. To be honest, I wouldn't even say it was a death, because some people sold him some bad drugs, and they were charged. 7 years ago, almost a couple days ago to the date. But yeah, listen to that album and listen to the strings and how each song ties into one another. And everything like that, and what he was saying, and go back and look at his Tiny Desk performance, and you will see, and even in his Tiny Desk performance, where there's a moment in it where the drugs kick in and the performance shifts a little, but Mac was a true dynamic artist, and I am a huge fan of Mac Miller. I have almost all his music on vinyl. But there's a connection. There's a life connection with that as well.
Yeah. And that makes sense.
Like I got the Mac Miller bobblehead. I flew to Pittsburgh, went to the game, and got the bobblehead. They only made like 20,000 of those, and I was outside of the stadium for 4 hours waiting.
Oh, you're a real fan. You're a fan.
You a fan.
Because I don't even know if I'm standing nowhere for Beyonce 4 hours, and I feel like I'm a fan.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a fan.
And I love it. I don't necessarily hate on fan. Like, I collect stuff. So, like, I got all kind of Beyonce collectors unopened. I just don't know if I'll stand in a line. But Beyonce would
had no choice.
Yeah, I was gonna say Beyonce would have to offer something that would require me to think about standing in the line too. I don't think I've ever just been like, oh, Beyonce's offering this, I need to stay in line. So stand in line. So I'm not gonna speak too soon because I might be up in that line. If it's some tickets, if Ticketmaster shut down and they said you had to go to box office, I would be there in a tent. Like I'm here. But Kim, let's get into your fifth and final pick before we get into the cultural convo. Who you got?
Let me tell you how stressed this is. I kept going back and forth between Lemonade by Beyonce and To Pimp a Butterfly by K-Dot.
Oof, them two good ones.
I know. And I'm like, I don't know.
Wait, say that again. Rewind that.
Lemonade by Beyonce or To Pimp a Butterfly by K-Dot. Both phenomenal albums. I think I might have to roll with my girl Queen B on this one for the last one.
Wow.
And this is why. I know.
Did you know The Pimp a Butterfly was supposed to be called The Pimp a Caterpillar?
No.
And it was to spell out Tupac?
That makes a lot of sense because I know how influential Tupac is to Kendrick. So, and then he had like a whole little dialogue with him at the end of the album, which was so dope. The way he cut in his questions with the old Tupac interview. To Pimp a Butterfly is hands down one of my favorite records. But the reason why I'm rolling with Lemonade,
I'm ready to hear this.
I know this is a hot take. Listen, and I got to be careful what I say because I'm a few degrees away from Beyonce. So, I follow her publicist, Miss Yvette. She felt like I'm coming as a fan of a Beehive or Miss Yvette. If you're watching this, I love you so much. But I have to roll with that because prior to Lemonade, like I was the biggest Destiny's Child fan, still the biggest Destiny's Child fan. Like love DC3, even DC4, minus Farrah. We don't count Farrah. But LaToya, Latavia, yes, right. But Beyonce's solo work, her early solo work, like Dangerously in Love, the Sasha Fierce 4, like all of those bodies of work, there were amazing songs on those bodies of work, but I didn't consider myself at that time to be in the Beehive. Like I respect the hell out of her, Virgo to Virgo. Her work ethic is killer. And she makes great music, but I didn't relate to any of it. Like I just wouldn't consider myself a fan at that time. To me, like if I'm a fan, I'm going to your concerts, I'm buying your merch, I'm buying your albums, all the things. I wasn't doing any of that for Beyonce at the time. It was like, oh, that was cute. I love that song. Like, cool. Listen, Lemonade dropped. And when she put the visual album out, like everything for me changed and I got inducted into the Beehive right then and there because for me, it was finally a body of work that I think was so authentically Beyonce that it felt like this is the album she's always wanted to make. And finally, she was in a space where she could make the album she wanted to make, and she didn't have to care about what Columbia was saying, if that makes sense. Like, it wasn't her most commercially, it wasn't a very commercial album. Like, it has some commercial singles on there with like Formation, which was my least favorite song on the album at the time, because there were so many other great songs on the album. But just the way she wove in the poetry and the story that she was telling mixed with the visuals, I was like, this woman is a genius. And I've been like lifetime member of the Hive ever since. So that's why I got to give it to be on
over
this
to
one.
Pimp a Butterfly.
I know. Listen, I have the
So,
album. I have
all
the
right,
CD to Pimp a Butterfly
was
in my
the
car right now.
song of an entire movement when
And
we
that's
talk
not even
about
my
Black
favorite
Lives
song on the
Matter and all
album.
that.
Yeah.
What is it, King Kunta?
Yeah.
No. My favorite song on that album is If These Walls Could Talk.
If
That's-
this walls could talk.
That's a beautiful song. And one thing I think Kendrick does very well, and I'm not trying to change, you
I
pick
told you it
what
was hard.
pick,
I told you I was stressed.
but Kendrick actually he ties his albums together. He weaves them.
Mhm.
And, when you think about If These Walls Can Talk, he mentions songs from a prior album in there. And then in that prior album, he mentions the album before, and so on and so forth. And, coming off a Good Kid, Mad City,
I'm not taking nothing away from Kendrick.
people didn't think that,
To Pimp a Butterfly,
again, sophomore albums,
the greatest album like that to date is my favorite K. Dot album to date.
Mine
and he's
too.
put out great albums. Good Kid, Mad City was my introduction to Kendrick, because I didn't know who Kendrick was until I heard Don't Kill My Vibe. And what was the other song?
Swimming Pools.
That was
Swimming
his
Pools.
commercial. That was his commercial song.
Yeah,
So,
I wasn't on it. That's when I was still listening to the radio. So and that was during the Mocha Latte days, for those that know, when I used to sing in a group called Mocha Latte back in the borough. And we were doing
opened
these mashups.
for Kanye in Nashville many years ago.
Wish I could have been there. That was probably at the time I still listened to Kanye, when I still enjoyed Kanye. Don't enjoy Kanye now, but that's another conversation for another day. But listen, I love K. Dot down. And like I said, it was a very, very hard decision. But for me, I'm giving it to Beyonce, because there was never a moment where I questioned if I liked Kendrick. There was a moment where I was like, am I a Beyonce fan? And for me, and where I was in my life at the time, Lemonade was the album that said, I get it now. I understand it. And now I understand the Hive, and I'm happy to be a member of the Hive. And I've been riding with my girl ever since. I've been at every standing out in the lines. Ashley, we was in Atlanta for Cowboy Carter. People were passing out outside, spending God knows how much money on merch. I'm like, she be spamming me, sending me text messages like, buy my sacred.
Yeah.
I'm like, girl, you getting all my money. Stop spamming me.
I agree.
Like, as soon as you file taxes, bam.
Yeah,
Bam.
she not slick. Like, she's waiting.
I got this new perfume coming out. Here's this album coming out. It's a limited edition. It's a special
tickets. I'm waiting for Act 3. I'm trying to have a Beyonce fund put together to the side for Act 3. It's a problem.
Like a Christmas fund.
For real. Like, real. It's a problem.
Kim, I get it. I think for me, some of it is I've become my daddy as I done got older, and I just became cheap. And then I had to kind of start picking and choosing. Do I want to go see Beyonce? Do I want to see Brandy and Monica and all of that? So I did not go see Cowboy Carter just because there were other things that I wanted to do. But I can tell you the moment that I joined the Beehive was July 12th, 2005 in Nashville. It was before it was Bridgestone. My auntie called me and was like, hey, will you take your cousins to the Destiny Fulfilled tour? I don't want to take them. Girl, yes, of course. Now, I got there and realized she was trying to set me up with the neighbor girl's brother. And so we all ended up going to see Destiny's Child together. And I was not studying him at all.
She was trying to do you a favor, girl. She was like, take one for the team.
She did me a favor when she bought my ticket to go see Destiny's Child final tour. That was the favor. I don't know where that man at. First of all, he was trying to ruin my experience.
Oh, not sorry to this man.
Talking about my fandom. But even at that moment, I was not necessarily a Beyonce fan. Like, I was a Destiny's Child fan. My favorite member of Destiny's Child would have been LaToya Luckett. So I wasn't necessarily a Beyonce fan, Destiny's Child fan. But during that tour, Michelle, Kelly, and Beyonce all did solo sets. And Kelly and Michelle just flat foot sang, and they did a magnificent job. Beyonce came out to the Coming to America theme music, and it was just this elaborate showcase. And I was like, nah, she's different. She different. And that was the day I became a part of the Beehive, because it was just so different. And I always tell people, if you are not a Beyonce fan, if you ever go see her live, she will convert you. I don't care if you're man, woman, boy, child.
I've never seen her live. Never.
Man, listen, production value alone, it's just like, yeah, that's a whole nother conversation for another day. I'm gonna tell you what really changed my mind on Beyonce. So when I was getting my master's, I went to Berkeley College of Music, was in a master's program. At the time, this is gonna sound like a flex, but it's not, because I'm still paying student loans for this. I want to be very clear. But at the time, I was living in Spain because Berkeley has a campus in Valencia, Spain. So they have this thing with the programs where they bring in, you know, all these big name people to be like your resident faculty, I guess. Our resident faculty was Beyonce's publicist, Miss Yvette.
Wow.
So I'm in this class. Miss Yvette is here for a week straight, and she's one of the nicest. And every time I see her, I'm always so happy to see her. But she's literally one of the nicest humans ever. And she just told us, like, this is before Hallie and Chloe blew up. Like, she zoomed them in into our class so we can ask them questions. And I embarrassed myself by like falling in front of them. Again, whole nother story. But she told us about all the things that Beyonce does that, like, just on a human level, her philanthropy that nobody knows about, because Beyonce doesn't feel the need to advertise it.
Yeah, and you don't have to yell it.
Yeah, she like things nobody knows that she's doing quietly. And this is before Be Good was even known as, you know, as known as it is now. Her foundation was not widely known at the time. This was 2017, 2018. So having that one-on-one time with her publicist where she's able to really tell us these are all the things that Beyonce has done through her foundation, on top of having the work ethic that she has, on top of the creativity, the vision, her ability to produce. And at that time, I hadn't been to any Beyonce concert. So for our graduation, On the Run, this was On the Run 2 tour, was happening in Barcelona. We all took a train from Valencia to Barcelona, and that was my very first Beyonce concert. It was On the Run 2 with her and Jay-Z, and Miss Yvette upgraded us to Club Carter. I had an iPhone 4S, and I had my little iPhone 4S right here. Like, Beyonce's right here on my little iPhone 4S, and I was just like mesmerized. But anyway, that's a whole tangent. Yeah, but
it's nothing like it. Every time I've gone, the men that go, they always kind of go begrudgingly with their wife, and somewhere in the middle,
they get converted.
They get converted to the Beehive, and you'll hear them mumbling on their way out. Now, I ain't listening to Beyonce in my car, but I'll come back to another show all day. Like, every single time.
And it'll be louder than you when they hear a song they recognize. When she pulled one of them songs from her old catalog, like Get Me Bodied, they be the loudest one.
Yeah, it's nothing like it. And before we go into the cultural convo segment, I wanted to say about To Pimp a Butterfly. That is my favorite Kendrick album. I know people say Damn a lot, but I just think To Pimp a Butterfly gave Damn a lot of momentum, where it's like, I got to listen to what he's going to do now. But To Pimp a Butterfly, I was at a place kind of like Janiro was saying about Mac Miller, where it's like this depression and navigating stuff. And To Pimp a Butterfly, he's kind of talking about that and dealing with, you know, the evils of the industry and Lucy and navigating this life and trying to figure out who you are. And that's where I was like, how do I not lose myself? Feeling like I had created a life for myself that I didn't even like. And then it's like, okay, I hear To Pimp a Butterfly, and he's kind of talking about these same things. And I just remember listening to that over and over and over on repeat. But that's going to segue into our cultural convo. And y'all kind of touched on some stuff. So I'm happy that we can be able to unpack it and go deeper. Speaking of Kendrick, so lately we seeing the Young Thug, we seeing Drake. They're starting to lose momentum. And from your perspective, what does that say about where the industry is headed? And that's for either one of y'all.
Oh, you want to take that one first, Janiro? I mean, for me, I think it's just art imitates reality, right? And everything, I feel like history repeats itself, and we're all kind of living in this simulation that is, people are fickle. The industry is fickle. Fans are fickle, especially in the age of social media. I feel like social media dictates what people like. The internet dictates what people like in the wave that they're on. And also, I'm not going to absolve Drake or Young Thug, but this might be a hot take, but I miss the days where celebrities were not online. Like, I miss the days where I was not in your group chat. I don't need to know your business. I don't want to see the trial. I don't care about the hot takes. Like, I think that has really kind of, for people like Cardi B, it works, right? Because she's so authentically herself every time she's on a live or her own, like, it works for her. But for people like Drake, nobody wants to see you because it comes off as like corny or cosplay, and he gets accused a lot of like being a culture vulture in this day and age. And I think it's just a sign of like the time that we're in and the way that music is shifting, especially with AI and samples and all the things that I'm sure we'll get into later. But I just think Drake has done a lot of corny things, and there's nothing cornier than losing a rap battle and suing your label for that. Like, I have never seen that in my 34 years of living. And I just think he lost a lot of people. And I was a Drake fan. Like, if you're reading this, it's too late. I still have that CD. Like, old Drake, love. Views was probably the last album I listened to, because once he started trying to be like light skinned Future, he lost me.
Yeah.
So it's just not, his sound is not authentic anymore. So I think that's where that momentum is slowing down. Because everybody that grew up listening to Drake when he was still Aubrey, making mixtapes, singing Is Anything I'm Doing Brand New, we're all grown now. So it's like we kind of grew up with Aubrey, especially if you watch Degrassi. So to see him kind of switch from being the guy that makes the emotional music for your girl, you know, like the singing rap that the girls can sing along to, or sweatpants, hair tied, chilling with no makeup on, to now you're talking about like you're dogging women, specifically Black women. Like, I just feel like he's alienated a lot of his audience. I don't listen to anything from Young Thug, so I couldn't tell you why he's losing momentum. But Drake specifically.
Gotcha. What do you think, Janiro?
Yeah, I think this is probably one of the first summers that we haven't had a summer hit record. And normally Drake is the one that provides that. You know, the whole Young Thug stuff. I mean, there's a point in people's career that they, like, you see them reaching. And I think Young Thug he's a menace. You know, the stuff that he said is just coming back on him. You know, and everyone can't pop out of jail and have success. Gucci did it, you know. I mean, if you want to say Jay-Z did it,
Tupac,
you know,
Gunna,
yeah. You know, but everyone can't do that. And then on top of that, you look at all the rappers that I grew up with that are making hot music, like Clips. Come on, there.
Yeah, that Clips album is crazy.
Malice is 50, you know, and then you got the middle class of rap, like really putting out good music. Also, Earl, Larry, Tyler's probably top tier in that, you know, because They're not like your normal commercial rappers and stuff. But I think music is shifting right now, and some people are tired of the nonsense. To Kim's point, it's like, all right, Drake, how many times can you cry? How many times can you say the same thing over and over again? And I'm not, Drake has held down a decade and some change of putting music out. And it's like each year he's reinvented himself, or he's done something to be relevant, or to put out that hot club record and everything. The music that he's doing just isn't sticking right now. And then you lose a whole rap battle and you turn around and sue like you looking like a sucker. You buy a Tupac chain and it ain't even Tupac's. You try to diss Pusha T in the clips, but you got suckered into buying a autographed microphone by them, and it wasn't even theirs. Like, you're a fan of these people that you now trying to turn around and diss. And Thug's trying to go at Kendrick like, oh, you don't even want to do a feature and blah, blah, blah. Kendrick addressed that before it even happened because he knew it was coming. So, some people are just reaching, but the good music is getting out and it's sticking. The Freddie Gibbs and Alchemist album. Who would have thought Larry June and 2 Chainz would sound so complementary together?
Yeah, Larry June goes hard.
And it's just, from a rap perspective, it's so much out there that the mediocre stuff or the same stuff you've been doing just ain't gonna work anymore.
Yeah, I agree. So I personally kind of look at it all from multiple angles. So there's, of course, like the industry angle. So it's like the money side, the creative side, and then I look at it as like a spiritual, energetic side. And as soon as that Kendrick and Drake battle started happening, I was like, this just feels very spiritual, almost like the Lord is like, enough is enough. Like, it's just too much foolishness going on, and we got to cut this out. And the more the battle, and this was before Meet the Grams even came out, and then Meet the Grams came out, and I was like, oh yes, for sure, this is just like,
when J. Cole bowed out gracefully, I knew he was on a spiritual vibration that he was like, nah, I'm out. Y'all got it.
Like, I don't even think J. Cole could have really done it. It had to be Kendrick, because it was almost a battle of like, for the culture. And it's like, we have to protect the culture, because if not, dudes like Drake will come and extract and take and pump out the toxicity, where it's like, you don't even care, and you're not even trying to care what you feed the kids. Like, your core audience that you always target, they're kids. And you almost 40 and you're still targeting kids, but like you said, now you're baby future, and it's extremely toxic. And so as time has gone on and we've seen Young Thug, who, like, that whole crew, Young Thug has kind of fallen off. Lil Baby is kind of like, I think his last album people hated. And to see that Gunna's kind of the only one out of that little pocket in that crew who kind of decided, you know what, whatever they own, I'm not on no more. I'm going this way. I think it was the best thing he could have done for himself, because and he's not even really in that era. I guess maybe the tail end of it. He's the only one that's kind of still standing, but none of them were really putting any substance out. And so I think it's just kind of like eating fast food. You can only eat so many McDonald's hamburgers before you be like, absolutely not. I want to go to grandmama's house and get some home cooking. And I think that's what we see, personally, to me, what we see happening is like, Kendrick offers soul food, where it's like, it's filling, and he doesn't have to drop an album every 10 days because the last album is going to stick to the ribs. Same thing with your Larry Junes and your Freddie Gibbs. Even if that's not your thing to listen to all the time, it's still a form of a soul food that's just way more filling culturally than it being like you drop a 40 song album and you just hoping that one song catch on to go viral to get on the radio.
I'm not listening to 40 songs. Like when Chris Brown dropped that album with all them 50 11 songs, I said, y'all are trying to get out of your contracts. Y'all are not slick. That's what this is. Because who's listening to 40 songs on one record?
Yeah, it ain't me. I know some people who did, but I'm like,
power to them.
If you're gonna give me 40 songs, it's got to be a hella diversified on some Beyonce level, but you cannot give me 40 of the same mellow songs where it's like, and you're kind of saying the same thing over and over again. That Chris Brown album, like if one of them songs randomly pop on a playlist, I can let it ride and it's gonna sound good. I'm not going from top to bottom because it all to me sounds very much the same. But I'm going to shift into the next question, which is, do you think audiences are shifting away from long-standing mainstream names towards more niche or independent voices?
Yeah, I believe independents are in a very great spot right now. You know, prime example would probably be La Russell.
Yeah.
You know, what he is doing. And to any indies watching this, go watch his interviews, study what he is doing, and take your notes from that. La Russell is setting, you know, he's creating his own lane. He's doing things his way. Anytime someone can sell tickets to their show for $1,000 and sell out, you know they're on the right path. Anytime someone can do a deal to where it's non-exclusive and they can still go do side projects and you don't get the historical catalog and everything, you know, like he knows the business and he learned it and he is doing it his way. And it's you know, he's putting music out. He's having that personal connection with people. And that's what the consumer is looking for. You know, back to Kim's statement of artists being online all the time and on social media. We don't want to be in a group chat because some people got too much drama. But if we can get involved in your creative process, if we can come to a show in the backyard of your actual home, if we could, you know, have a percentage of royalties in the album and stuff, like, that's what we want. You know, we want those intimates. I don't have to be at a show with 60,000 people. You know, some people do, others don't. But I think the independents are moving in the right direction right now. And, you know, it's a good time for that because a lot of the majors, you know, I mean, Clips bought themselves out their deal. So they're independent. They're technically independent. They're not a major artist. They're doing things their way, and they don't. You know, a deal is what it is for some people. It's a great thing, but if you have the connections, if you understand the dynamics and are willing to get out there and work, it can be a great space from you. From a product standpoint, you know, you're talking about the music and the merch, it's sustainable. You know, you do 10 shows, 200 tickets at each, and sell 100 shirts, you're making a good living.
I agree. I love what La Russell's doing and just watching it. I've listened to some of his music, but just watching it is just
the music snaps.
Yeah, it does snap, but I can't say that. Now I feel like I have a lot of more singles. So like older music is definitely albums that I listen to. Now it's just so much that sometimes I'm hearing a song, throwing it on a playlist, hearing a song, throwing it on a playlist. So I don't necessarily always get to dive into a person's catalog because things are moving so fast, but the music does slap that I've heard. Kim, what about you? What do you think about?
Yeah, I mean, I echo a lot of what Janiro said. I think what's cool, and what I'm excited to see is that the whole role of A&R has shifted. And this really gives independent artists a lot of leverage right now, because labels have now built whole A&R departments to literally sit behind a desk and scour TikTok. And it's like the consumer has become the A&R that tells the labels what we like, what we don't like. And so having that type of buy-in from your fandom, I think that's probably where all the leverage comes from an independent artist, when you own your audience. And by ownership, I mean just in a simple phrase of like, you know exactly who your audience is, you know where you can find them, like your direct to fan strategy is sustainable, it's consistent. So I think that indie artists are in a really good position right now. And then you have a lot of artists, to Janiro's point, talking about clips getting themselves out of the deal. We're seeing a lot of artists now that are buying their masters back, or pulling a Taylor Swift and just re-recording and remastering songs that they weren't able to get back from the label, just again to sort of have that independent feel, even if they are still tied to a record deal for X amount of CDs that they have left. But I think as technology continues to evolve, I would love for there to be more intimate moments. Like, I love when I see Chloe in her lab, like making beats and bringing us into the process of that. I wish she would lean more into that instead of the ultra sexy. And I know like there's probably going to be some backlash for that, especially me being a woman, and I'm all here for women empowerment and whatever that means to you. However, Chloe is really talented, and I feel like she doesn't have to use, I feel like overt sexiness is a gimmick and in some ways, and she doesn't have to do that, because she is so incredibly talented, that if she really leaned more into her creative process, and it's evident, that's what, like, if you go on her post right now, that's what fans want to see. Like, you see all types of people commenting like, more of this, please. We don't need you with your clothes off. And I know that can come off a certain way, but like, your fandom is what keeps you sustaining, especially as an indie artist. If you don't have, like, she has Parkwood behind her, but like, we don't really know what that looks like, to be honest. Right? Like, in terms of her rollout, her marketing, Beyonce's not constantly posting about Chloe and Halle. So while we know she's associated with Parkwood, we don't really know what that deal looks like. So I just think, like, for any indie artists that are out here wondering, like, should they go get the deal or should they try to remain independent? I would encourage you to be as independent for as long as you can and really learn the business. And it's not that all label deals are bad, because they're not, but you need to seek counsel and make sure that the counsel that you seek doesn't also work for the label.
I agree with everything you said.
Definitely.
With Chloe, I hated that her and Halle kind of they split early, in my opinion, but I get it. Halle had to go do Little Mermaid, and if I'm Chloe, I'm not gonna sit and just wait for you to finish the Little Mermaid. But they had such a unique sound on that last album that they did together, and I don't feel like they got a chance to fully flush it out and develop personality from that. And then, like you said, it just got super overtly sexy, and it almost didn't feel, I ain't gonna say almost, it didn't feel natural. Like, looking at the poses and stuff, it just felt like slightly uncomfortable.
Forced.
Very forced. Yeah. Thank you, because what I was gonna say, I was like, that is way not politically correct, but forced is a very good word to say. And it's like, baby, is somebody holding you hostage, making you take these pictures? Because it feels forced. And so I agree, your audience is going to dictate what it is that they want from you. And I think it's a balance with that, because sometimes people want stuff and it's like, but I'm not that person anymore. And I think that's okay too, to evolve and grow if it's a true evolution and growth and it's authentic. But to kind of piggyback off what y'all are saying, where do you see the next wave of influence coming from? Would it be culturally? Would it be regionally? Or even like a platform? Like, things are wide open. So we're not quite it's weird, because we kind of going back to physicals, but we still kind of streaming. but then we have like the streamers doing their thing. I like what Drake is doing with Iceman in the rollout. I don't think it's executed well, but I think the idea itself of rolling out an album as episodes and releasing music in that way is very strategic and smart, and unique. So where do y'all think that new next wave of influence is gonna come from?
That ain't nothing but R. Kelly trapped in the closet circa 2005.
And
It is.
Jermaine Dupri's almost doing the same thing with his
Mhm.
project, but I mean, what we're seeing right now in music is a lot of the old music coming back on
Mhm.
vinyl. Like, people are pressing up vinyl at a very high rate right now. I think rollouts and everything are good. If it's strategic, again, not to beat a dead horse, but Drake is really looking for something.
Yeah. Oh, I
that
agree.
that he hasn't, like, he got knocked off the horse, and he's never been there. He's never had to do this. So he's trying anything to bring the hype back, the momentum, and the interest. And honestly, he could just, like Tyler the Creator said, just drop the damn music. Put it out. Like, you're Drake, dude. You've been doing music and it's been very successful. So why this different type of function now? Why this ultimate secrecy? Why are you standing in another country in an empty pool? Like, this isn't Ricochet.
I don't think he knows who he is anymore. So he's just throwing stuff to the wall to make it stick. When, in my opinion, the easiest thing for him to do is to take time off and then write from the heart about what he's really going through and what he really feeling. I think it's just that simple. If I was his creative director, if I was his A&R, I would be like, bro, just give me a year of nothing, of just nothing. I don't
Drop the lawsuit.
Go
and
to
make
therapy.
The music.
No,
exactly.
Go to therapy.
But that's a part of that year. Let's go to therapy. Let's put this pen on paper and put some therapy on the album. I guarantee you're going to go number one if you do that. And it's just as simple as that.
Do a song with Young Thug.
I mean, it might.
He need to get back to the Aubrey mixtape days. Like, that's what I want to hear from Jake. Is go back to the basics.
Yeah. And so, the reason why I brought him up is because he's doing a lot of it via Twitch. So I do agree, Kim, R. Kelly has done it, but to see it done live, like R. Kelly did it, dropped it, we watched it. Drake is doing this all live stream, and it is very boring because, like, they're live and he's going to different sets and places, and it's like, you got too much downtime in this to give people a mediocre song. Like, if somebody gonna wait 45 minutes for you to set up, you better give me some Michael Jackson action since you thought you were Michael Jackson. And so that's where that question was kind of coming from, where it's like, could Twitch and these live stream platforms be the next wave of how we get music? I do think regional music is going to come back just based on Metro dropping his album GNX and stuff like that. But go ahead.
It's all these platforms are just changing, like what payouts and who's paying, who's not. I personally, I wish artists would just drive people to their own website.
Listen, that's a whole nother conversation, because I 1,000,000% agree. I think the challenge, though, just looking at it from the perspective of like working in publishing and being on the side of drafting all of these licenses when the labels are what they call catalog, doing re-releases of catalog music, like your old Booker T and the MGs, or like some of this stuff that's not there's no new music coming from these artists, but just a lot of vinyl re-releases. What I think is going to happen is everything that's old becomes new, and then everything that is new becomes old. And we're seeing that repetition of, like, now people are obsessed with vinyl. And to your point, Janiro, like, there is a lot of vinyl, limited edition vinyls. There's record store days. There's like a really big push to get back to physical. And I think a lot of that is because people are fed up, artists are fed up, and writers specifically are fed up with the DSPs because of the royalty payouts. So I think the more we put tech in music, the more it's going to backfire. You're going to see a big wave of songwriters saying, I don't want tech anymore because tech doesn't know how the industry works, and they're not willing to pay us for the art that they're using to drive people to their platforms. So I can see why there's a big push to go back to physical. But I will also say, in terms of like what the next big push is, K-pop. Like, and one of my best friends is a K-pop stan. I went to the ATEEZ concert for the first time with her. That was my first K-pop concert here in Nashville. I ain't never seen nothing like it. And I was just like, never in my life have I stood outside at Bridgestone for an hour or so waiting to get into a concert. And that was the ATEEZ concert. Like, people literally were there 3 hours before the door opened. I've never seen that before. And what K-pop does so well, and I wish more American artists would take a page out of their book, they've got the marketing down. They got all types of merch. They do K-pop pop-up stores in different areas like Atlanta and these big sort of LA metropolitan cities. They re-release physical albums and include like a little what do you call it? Like
Those
a little
trading
poster.
cards?
Yeah, like a little trading card. You got like Pokemon trading cards of K-pop artists, and they just keep re-releasing the album, but they'll change the color of the CD and you'll get a new trading card. So it creates this community. So when you go out at these concerts and you post it up for 3 or 4 hours, people are literally walking down the line handing you bracelets, trading cards. Like, they've created a whole cultural movement around K-pop, which really ain't nothing but Korean R&B.
Yeah. A lot of K-pop's DNA is the Motown method. The artist development, the Jackson 5 had their cartoon and their merch and stuff like that. Of course, Berry Gordy was before his time, so he didn't have as much access to that stuff, but it's definitely ripped out of the blueprint of Berry Gordy. So have to give him his props. And I agree. K-pop, the phenomenon of K-pop. I have a coworker who flies around the world to see these people, and and this is a grown woman in her 30s. And so my other coworker was like, "Oh, I just got some tickets to take my daughter to this K-pop concert." And she literally stopped and was like, "She needs this. You need to know this." Because he was trying, like, "I just need to know something before I go to this concert." And she was like, "You need to know this, 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 and this." And that's how I knew about the trading cards, because she started talking about how this girl in another country had like a special edition, something that didn't get released in the States, but they can't get it into the States because of the tariffs. It's like a $70 tariff on it now. And she's like, "I can't pay extra $70 for this." And it's a craze, but it also reminds me of the boy band craze, which is
that's coming back. Did y'all watch Building the Band on Netflix?
I didn't.
Y'all gotta watch it, because Solidified is one of the boy bands on there, and then the band that won 3 Quincy, they're about to go on tour, so they're bringing back that nostalgic, especially Solidified, that nostalgic 2000s like boy band vibe. Yeah, it's coming back. That wave the groups are coming back.
Yeah, I listen to Flo. I like Flo a lot as far as female R&B. Male R&B that I can't, there's like King's Ransom. There's another group that I like. I haven't found one that I feel like is as polished as Flo at the moment, but that is making a heavy comeback. Wanye's boys, One More, they're really good. I like seeing how they're developing and growing over time. So the last question in this particular segment is, with TikTok streaming and AI now shaping the game, how do you see technology reshaping the way artists break through?
You go ahead, Kim. I'm indifferent on that.
Every time new technology, or every time technology expands in its capabilities, there's an excitement around it, but there's also a fear around it. And I think what's happening specifically in our industry is, especially for creators, for copyright holders, there's so much uncertainty about AI and what it's going to do to songwriters. For example, there's so many different AI companies right now where you can literally feed in, I want this song to sound like 1990s Tupac. I want the voice, like they're literally taking the name and likeness of these artists and even teaching the AI the language of like Tupac's voice, for example, because you have to feed the AI language. Is my very limited understanding of AI, by the way. I'm not an expert. But I think that's sort of the scariness of it, because then how do you copyright this thing that technically doesn't fit the standards of copyrightable material? So I can understand sort of the hesitance from a lot of creators of how AI specifically will hinder them or make it harder for them to already collect royalties that's already hard to collect. But also, AI is not going anywhere. So it's like, how do we sort of merge the balance of creators that are fearful of this thing, of this tool, while also making sure that we put like sort of ethical guidelines in place to make sure that everybody can use this tool and enjoy this tool without it compromising the art or the money, the financial gain of these creators who deserve to be paid. So I think we don't have a lot of information yet of how AI is like directly impacting music. And what that looks like is literally caught up in litigation. Like nobody knows how to copyright this thing. And they're trying to figure it out. But I don't know. I think the way I would like to see like AI or even VR used is like you said it earlier, Janiro, about how dope would it be if, you know, somebody was having an album release party in their backyard. You could do that virtually. You can create a whole virtual reality world around that if you partner with a Google or somebody that has the VR glasses and say, you know, for my Beehive fans, my Day One fans, I'm going to give you an exclusive DC3 backyard barbecue, you know, concert with DC3 if you get these glass. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think there's so many ways to be creative with it and really use it as a world building tool versus a tool that's there to like steal and dilute the creativity and authenticity of these creatives.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some perks to AI. In the entertainment industry, we've always utilized technology to shift forward. It's always happened. But one thing is, like you said, how do people get paid if you could train a system to sound like XYZ? Well, case in point, there's now a diss record out that says it's Glorilla dissing Young Thug. People are thinking it's her. People are thinking it's AI. But what happens if the street people don't know the difference and they take matters into their own hands? Or what happens if the song gets 10 million plays? Who gets paid off of it? So I think, again, I'm indifferent. There's pros and cons to it. There's people that are getting there, and there's reports out there now that have said, oh, well, I created this song using AI to write my lyrics. Make a rap song that talks about this, that, and the other, using the wordplay of Notorious B.I.G. or Hove or Nas or Big Boy or 3000, and create a beat that sounds like this, that, and the other, and bam, you got a song. You got the lyrics, which were generated, and you have the track, which was created. So yeah, I wonder, it's here, it's not going anywhere. I think people need to learn it, because even in the workplace environments, they're shifting to AI and automated systems, and they're replacing people, You better learn it.
If you don't learn AI, you're gonna be like our parents who didn't learn the internet. You just gonna always need a younger person to help you do something. Now, I have dove, like, I'm not gonna say crazy deep into AI, but pretty deep into AI because I want to learn. And one thing I can say, AI, if you're able to critically think, then what you do with AI is going to be totally different from a person who think on a 5th grade level. So if you say, make me a song like Jay-Z, then that's what you're going to get out of it. But what I've learned is, like, you can say that and then take that and break that down. Or, at Janiro as a DJ, you can kind of break that track down and then maybe pull out something, blend and mix with it, use a sample from it instead of it just being copy and paste. And I do think there are people who copy and paste, but even the skill of writing prompts, like, it's not as easy as make a song like Jay-Z. Some of it is because the copyrights on some of those systems are going to come back and say, we can't do that. But you might not get back the sound that you want. You have to, tell it, I want my bass line to do this. I want this to be like this. So I think, especially for the next generation, as they learn how to use it in a way that's critical, a critical thinking place, that they'll be able to really use it in a dope way. I do think that, I'm sorry, I lost train of thought. Like, nope, it didn't come back. So yeah, but like I said, I do think the way that we use it, in the skill. Oh, I'm sorry. I knew what I was going to say. To me, it's sampling. So how our parents felt about sampling music, where it's like, you're not playing no instrument, you just gonna chop up this song, that ain't real music. And it's like, no, there's an art to sampling. It is not easy just to chop a sample and then create a song around it. I think AI is gonna be like that. It's not easy to create, it's easier, but it's not easy to make an AI song. But it still takes a level of skill to do that. And even with the media stuff, it's like, we always been getting fake news, whether it's somebody write an article for a newspaper or post some crazy story on social media. Now these fools just had the ability to make diss records with it. I mean, Drake used Tupac and Snoop voice. So was it a clever way to use it in the battle? Some people say yes, some people say no. But I think it's there. But we're going to transition into the parking lot pimping segment so we can get ready to wrap this thing up. The year is whatever year you want it to be. The party just let out. You feeling fresh, you with your people or whoever you want to be with. What is the song that you playing in the parking lot to let people know I'm here and I'm stunting on you niggas?
You got to go
I'm probably
first.
going to play Money Trees by Kendrick Lamar.
Okay. That's a good choice. Not where I thought you were gonna go with it.
I was gonna go back to Outkast, but because that title track of Southern Playlisting, the way the guitar strings come in, the way that bass, like first day out of winter, when the weather is 70, 80 degrees and I could put the windows down on the car, that's the song I'm playing when I pull out and I'm riding around the city and stuff. But Money Trees if I'm chilling in the parking lot, I'm waiting on people to come out, I'm just vibing. Money Trees hits.
Yeah.
It got a nice good bass in there. And
hallelujah.
Yeah. Me and my niggas. Yeah.
Okay. I respect that one. I like that one. What about you, Kim? What you pimping in the parking lot with?
Listen, I was over here trying to go through my notes because I didn't think y'all was gonna come to me so fast. It probably is gonna be Outkast. It's probably gonna be Outkast Players Ball.
Okay.
It's just a classic.
It is.
Yeah. That's a good windows down song too.
Yeah.
Like it make you feel real player. You gotta get fly. So I feel that.
Crazy thing is that's a Christmas song. It is.
I mean, no, I was thinking once you said it, I was like, I feel like I can find it. I feel the vibe of that. Like I never thought of it, but once you said it, I was like, I can see that.
Yeah, so it was on the LaFace Christmas album.
I can see that because you can hear like the bells at the beginning of it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Like it does have bells in it. It makes sense. So this next segment, I really break down these segments for people, but this next segment is the last segment was our parking lot pimping segment where we pick not our favorite track, but just something we like to stun on the people with. But we're going to go into our liner notes, which is kind of like closing reflection. There's only one question. And the question is, what's the legacy you want your work to leave for the next generation of artists and executives?
I'm going to let you take that one first.
The legacy I would like to leave behind would be that when you lead with your heart and passion, you will touch as many people as you need to. Like there's no quantifiable number of, I need to touch 500 people or this, that, and the other. But I allow my passion and my heart to drive the work that I need to do. You know, I can't, whatever comes in my mind. Well, you know how people may say, my heart led me to do this. Mm-hmm. And that's what I want people to really understand and know about me is that I do what I do because my heart has led me there. You know, we created the Southern Entertainment Awards not as a money grab, but because our heart said that this is what we needed to do to give people something. You know, my heart drove me to music supervision because I wanted to provide an opportunity for artists that are out there creating music, making music, but have nowhere for it to go in many instances. So yeah, and you know, the next phase and iterations of the Southern Entertainment Awards and what we are going to do will continue to align with that. Because there's a few things that are coming down the pipeline that I can't announce yet, but you'll be able to be like, you know, in a couple months, you'll say, you know what, that's heart, that's mission, that's, you know, that's a good fight. And that's what I want people to know, that he fought the good fight.
I respect that. A little known fact, Janiro, and I know I've never told you this because I just randomly thought about it. The first time I ever heard of the Southern Entertainment Awards was in 2007. I had a homie from Nashville who would always talk about, like, because we kind of all did music together, and his like goal and his mission was like, if we can just get to the Southern Entertainment Awards. And I didn't really know anything about the Southern Entertainment Awards, so I was just like, bro, like, you really like hardcore all about the Southern Entertainment Awards, only for about 10 years later, I meet you and you're one of the founders of the Southern Entertainment Awards. So it's funny how things come full circle. That
wow, that's dope.
This 21-year-old girl in 2007 here in the Southern Entertainment Awards, and the impact that y'all were having at that time, and to be sitting here and having this conversation with you on the podcast is incredibly dope. So again, appreciate you for being here.
No, thank you.
Kim, what is the legacy you want your work to leave for the next generation?
I love this question so much. For me, I tell everybody this. I think being kind is such a lost principle. And it's especially in this industry because everybody has accolades, right? And when you're walking into these rooms, it's easy to sort of get swept up by that. But I find it so refreshing when I enter a space, especially with people I don't know. And it's just kindness is what connects us. A lot of what Janiro said about just leading with your heart. And I think so many rooms that I've been invited to has just been because I was kind. I showed up. I was ready to work. I was ready to learn, and I wasn't a gatekeeper. And so I think about when it comes to the legacy of my work, when people come in contact with me, I want them to see my heart for philanthropy and for community. I want them to be like, she was really nice and she was very kind. And the work that she did, especially to help our youth, really spoke for itself. And so that's really what I look to, and is like, I can rest now. Is, it's not the accolades, it's not the awards. Those things are nice, but she was great to work with. And look at how she changed lives for our youth. That's my legacy, I think.
Oh, I think that's a good place to pause and wrap up the liner notes segment. If you have made it this far with us, thank you, thank you, thank you. We all some music nerds, so I already know when music nerds come on, it's gonna be a lot going on. When it's just more people who like music, but they have like a skill set, and we're talking about it, it's different. But hardcore music nerds, it's like we get down in these rabbit holes, and there's so much to talk about. So I'm definitely have to have y'all back on to unpack some more, have different conversations. If you are listening, tune in next week. We will be back at our regular time. We will be YouTube. We'll be on Facebook. Not really sure if we're going to do Twitch or Instagram next week, but 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Each episode, if you miss it live, you can get it on whatever your favorite podcast streaming platform is. So you can send it to your friends, your cousins, your uncles, or whoever. But again, I want to thank y'all for tuning in. Thank you to my beautiful guests for showing up. I am your girl.
Thank you for having us.
Autumn. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, buy some merch, do something to support the brand, Talented 10 TV, because we're trying to get back to the community. And I will see y'all next week.
Hey, no, dog.